What about the pressure that this president has put on China with regard to trade, $375 billion trade deficit? Good move or not?
Well, China is a country that I think we've all recognized as a strong economic power. I think President Xi is, despite the fact he's consolidating his power, is very thoughtful and cares a lot about where China is going. I'm a believer that the best approach to China is to communicate with them, to have diplomatic negotiations, to sit down and work with them on all of these issues. And I don't mind leverage, and in some ways what the president did gives us some leverage. But you then have to follow through and really develop the kind of tough negotiations as to what kind of trade will we have, what will they do to balance the trade deficit that we have with them, what are they going to do about the South China Sea? Are they going to continue to develop militarized islands? Are they going to continue to restrict free trade? We have to deal with them, but we have to deal with them from strength, not from weakness. So your worry really with all of this is the next step. What happens now? Now Exactly.
that we've put the pressure on China, what happens now that we pulled out of the Iran deal? And you're worried that this administration does not have the plan B.
I think President Trump loves to, and he may have developed this approach when he was a developer in New York, which is you kind of walk into the room, tear up the agreement, and you kind of assume, because there's money on the table, that people will come back and try to negotiate. When it comes to international relations, it doesn't work that way. You tear up something, people are going to get angry. It involves their country, it involves their pride, it involves whether or not they can trust the United States. Those are all big issues in the international arena. So, chaos, I understand you can use chaos as leverage, but you damn well need a strategy as to where you're going. And I'm afraid that's what the president doesn't have.
I want to move on to economic issues in a moment, but Secretary, let me get your thoughts on what has been taking place in terms of the intelligence agencies. Obviously, there's a big fight going on right now between the FBI and the DOJ and Congress with regard to the handling of the Hillary Clinton email investigation back in 2016, along with the Trump and potential collusion with the Russians investigation. Your thoughts on what has taken place now that we've seen all of these texts between Peter Strzok and Lisa Page, and we've seen some bias at the top of the FBI and the DOJ?
Well, look, I'm somebody that believes in the rule of law. I think this country and our democracy is based on the rule of law. And the people who implement our laws and our law enforcement are people that I trust because, frankly, they are putting their lives on the line when it comes to law enforcement and intelligence. I think if there have been problems, that rather than this kind of game of chicken that's being played now, where somebody threatens a subpoena, somebody threatens to take somebody to court, somebody threatens to do this, they ought to sit in a room. They're all on the same side, for God's sake.
You would think so, but for some reason, Congress is not able to get the documents that the DOJ is holding.
Well, I think there are ways to provide the information that they need. I mean, when I was head of the intelligence agency, I got requests for information that was very sensitive and very classified. And I was very careful about making sure that I didn't violate some of that classification because it jeopardized lives. But there are ways to provide information that can meet the needs of the Congress and at the same time protect our national security. I'm convinced that if there was trust, and right now the biggest problem is nobody trusts anybody.
It's true.
And with the lack of trust, they're going to resort to beating each other up or trying to blow each other up in some way. They have got to restore some trust here between the Congress in our law enforcement agencies.
Final question on economics. The president is trying to rescind $15 billion in spending. We know we just had a tax cut plan and a rollback in regulation. Your thoughts, obviously your years at OMB, your thoughts on the economic situation right now, and also the $1 trillion deficits that we're going to see for years out.
Well, you know, obviously I think our economy is strong. I think the elements of our economy are doing well. But my greatest fear, having been budget chairman and OMB director, is this huge debt that's out there and growing. We've added almost $3 trillion to the long-range debt. We're looking at a debt that will be over 100% of GDP. That's going to put pressure on interest rates. It's going to put pressure on resources, the ability to be able to do the things that we want to do. It's going to put pressure on inflation. So all of those things are in jeopardy. What the president needs to do, rather than this hit and miss game that we're involved in now, is we need a comprehensive budget agreement that deals with entitlements, that deals with discretionary spending, and that deals with revenues. Yes. That's the only way we're going to resolve this.
Yeah, and it's hard to expect that during an election year.
That's the problem.
Of the midterms coming up in November.
Nice to be with you.
Thank you so much, Secretary Leon Panetta.